gotten used to the quirk that this app has to really get things rolling. So, I'm a little better at getting the stream started, or at least having some control and say over getting the stream started. Welcome back. Welcome back to Matt Opens Toys, the #1 Twitch streaming program where I open toys. I think that that's fair and accurate to say. Hi. I started a few seconds early, and right now I'm hello to my first viewer. Hello. I don't believe I have my emotional support wife with me in the chat right now. She's either asleep or she may be going to go acquire a lottery ticket so that she can achieve her dream of winning the lottery. We shall see. But yes, so welcome back. This is what I would consider my second official stream. I did have a bonus stream that I did somewhat impromptu the other night because I got a Lego set that I was excited to open and assemble. I was thinking that maybe at some point it could be fun if I did have slightly longer stream where maybe I would do a Lego build and you could watch along while I build some Legos. I find it relaxing to do so, and I get a lot of Lego sets, so you'll have plenty of opportunity. I have a few new desk friends. I rotated some people out of our normal lineup. Well, mostly just Black Cat. I didn't think she looked as neat as everybody else, but I like everybody else keeping me company. We got some of these Lego video characters. For example, this little boombox rabbit. And I'm a big fan of this little alien guy. Here's a better look at the alien guy. I was pretty excited about this guy from the very get-go. I thought he looked really nice for a Lego minifigure. I also got this Ice Cream Mermaid. She's quite charming. A little taller than the rest too. I appreciate that she's taller, has bigger hair. Makes her stand out more. This is for whatever reason, this seems to be one of the more popular bandmates from the video line. A lot of people that I've seen, including my very own close friend, Ryan, have been trying specifically to find, I don't know if she's a ghost, a banshee, she's a green lady. I don't know. People like green ladies, I guess. Sure, why not? Yeah, a couple new desk friends, just kind of mixing it up. It could get stale having the same desk friends every stream, so why not mix it up a little bit. But yeah, welcome back. Matt Opens Toys. I've gotten a few new toys in. For the most part, though, I am looking at trying to open some of my older toys that I've had sitting around. I mentioned on my first stream that I was kind of starting off with some of the things that I was meaning to open, but maybe wasn't as absolutely eager to get started with. I have a couple different things in mind for maybe the next couple weeks. I do have a lot of toys, but I don't know. I mean, I think I would probably run through the things that I need to open within a few weeks' time if I'm, taking the time to actually open them. But like I said, I did actually get a couple things in, and I was thinking that, long form Lego builds might be a fun thing to toss into this channel here and there. It doesn't totally line up with the modus operandi of the channel necessarily, but it might still be fun. Let me show you a couple of the things that I got in that I'm not going to be opening tonight. This can be kind of a teaser, maybe for a future installment, if you choose to view it that way. I thought that I had gotten a shipment from Hasbro of the new Voyager class Dinobot. This is a Beast Wars character. I was a big fan of Beast Wars growing up, watched all of the cartoon, had a really sizable collection. As a matter of fact, I believe I still do have the vast majority of those still around, just traveling with me from different places that I live, spot to spot. So I thought I was getting Voyager Dinobot in. I think I will still be receiving him pretty soon. I wanted to do kind of a big Transformers opening sometime in the next couple streams. I do have a few Transformers. Even though I was kind of trying to wean myself off of Transformers, get out of it. I mean, it's not a line that I collect regularly. There's a bunch of things that I've missed over the past few years if I was going to be an active or avid collector of Transformers. I just, after Beast Wars, well, more specifically after Animated, I never really had a Transformers series that really engaged me in the same way. I have almost the complete Transformers Animated release, like almost all of them. There's maybe like a few specialty or con or limited edition ones that I didn't pick up while the toys were coming out, but I want to say, more than 90% of those guys. But Transformers Animated, which was quite a while ago, was the last time that I was like really into Transformers. So that being said, I had kind of gotten out of them, but they've recently decided to revisit the Beast Wars era, and I was a huge Beast Wars fan. I would say that's probably the thing out of Transformers that I like the best, Beast Wars. Big fan of the show. I really liked a lot of the characters in it. A lot of the toys were just great. I had them growing up, sought them out growing up. And now they're revisiting those characters. They're doing new versions. They recently announced the vintage versions of them as well. So I'm a sucker. I got the vintage, or I pre-ordered the vintage ones. But I've gotten a lot of the Beast Wars characters. At the same time, they also announced the Studio Series, which is kind of a divisive line because I guess it competes with their existing Masterpiece line. But they've released some really nice, somewhat like definitive versions of characters from, for example, the Transformers, the movie, which again, I would say out of the original Transformers cartoon, I was probably most familiar with the movie. I don't think I was a little too young to watch the original show while it was coming out. I certainly had Transformers toys, but I knew the Beast Wars characters. I had the movie, so I was familiar with the movie, but I never really, I didn't spend a Saturday watching the original Transformers cartoon, to my recollection. I mean, maybe I did, but I don't remember it now if I did. So I do have a few of those Studio Series, those characters from the movie that I was planning on opening in the next couple streams. I thought it would be fun to do like a nice little, this is a bunch of Transformers that I'm opening, and I can talk a little bit about Transformers. But instead, today I did get, as opposed to Dinobot, I actually got some other pre-orders in, but it wasn't everything that I had ordered. So I got some Marvel Legends in today in the mail from Hasbro, their website, Hasbro Pulse. There's a new era of the comics that they started pretty recently, I would say within the last year and a half, called House of X, Powers of X. It's the Jonathan Hickman era. That's the author of this, or the overall architect and the author of the main writer of the main X-Men title. Well, they made some figures that are the costumes that are used primarily, at least in the House of X, Powers of X miniseries that led into this new era of X-Men comics. So I got a few of those in. I'm not going to be opening those today because there's a total of 7 in the wave, and I only got 4 of them in. So I really kind of want to wait until I can not unbox, but until I can open the entire wave. They tend to identify these things based off of the Build-A-Figure that's associated with it. This is a Tri-Sentinel Build-A-Figure. This is the full wave. This is the Build-A-Figure that's associated with it. The Tri-Sentinel featured in House of X, Powers of X. You got, of course, Wolverine. Can't not have Wolverine. I love Wolverine. Charles Xavier, Omega Sentinel, Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl, Moira McTaggart, Magneto, Cyclops. I have, like I said, 4 of this. So Cyclops, Magneto, Moira, and Wolverine came in. These guys presumably will be coming in separately. I'm going to go ahead and wait on doing an opening of them until I have the entire wave. That way I could also put the Build-A-Figure together at the same time. That's just tidier. It's neater to me. I might move that up because they're a somewhat recent release. I don't really care too much about trying to do things in a timely manner. I mean, a lot of the things that I may get to opening are probably things that have been out. I don't really care about being on the cutting edge per se. This is more about just getting stuff opened and dealt with in my house. So yeah, we'll probably do X-Men pretty soon, maybe the next stream, maybe next week, whenever I get those guys in. I got a couple other things in the mail as well that I was pretty excited about. Some Lego sets that I had ordered directly from Lego again. You get a little like incentive set when you order a certain amount of Legos directly from the Lego store. Their current incentive, I think, is pretty cool. Amelia Earhart tribute. It's a nice little set, a little display set that has her plane and then, of course, her. Kind of neat. This is just, again, a little limited collector incentive thing that they toss along when you order enough from them, which surprisingly I was able to do. You know me, I don't order too much or buy things constantly. No, I do. I really do. But for tonight, I have a different set of toys that I'm going to be looking at opening. They're another one kind of similar to the Back to the Future toys where, you know, I got them. Obviously, I have a little bit of enthusiasm for them, but I think that there are other toys that maybe I was a little bit more enthusiastic. In a way, these purchases were probably driven, I would say, primarily by nostalgia. And it's a tricky thing as far as the level of nostalgia because the 4 main things that I'm going to be opening tonight, and I do have a couple of additional ones that I'll open as well. But the 4 main things are all from a series that I definitely had the toys. I have some familiarity with the cartoon. This was an 80s cartoon. But I think for the most part, I had the toys, I watched the cartoon at an age where a lot of it didn't really stick with me, for one thing. And it's also not like a particularly deep or sophisticated property. Like, I know that there are very big fans of it overall. But I think it's definitely one of those properties from the 80s that the cartoon in particular was definitely viewed as just like a toy commercial. And I haven't gone back and reinvestigated that for myself, but if my very vague recollection of some of the media associated with it is accurate, then I think it's pretty fair to say it was kind of just like a big toy commercial. And I guess it worked because I definitely had quite a bit. I remember liking the toys a lot too. And so let's cut the anticipation. I'm just going to show these guys. The name of tonight's stream was Mattails. That's a little bit of a nod to the primary manufacturer of the toys that we're going to be opening this evening. Let's just show them. These are, I think, basically wave 2 of this line. These are Masters of the Universe toys. These are the Origins. I think Origins is the name of this line. I could be wrong. But the whole concept with these, as you may be able to tell from the packaging, is that they evoke the original releases quite a bit. Modern posing retro play, they say on all of the packaging here. To my recollection, this is also probably how the original packaging on those toys was back in the day. I don't know. I was pretty young. I think a little too young to really, like I said, remember the particulars of either the toys or really the cartoon either. I mean, I remember liking it. My sister was a little bit older than me. She had a lot of She-Ra stuff. I wasn't sure I was going to pick up this line. I mean, I don't think I necessarily have a ton of display space for it. This isn't the first time either that Mattel, the manufacturer, you can see Mattel here referenced in the corner. Mattel's the manufacturer. Mattel, I think, had a bit of a reputation of being more of a quote-unquote girls' toys or doll manufacturer. They also are the manufacturers of Barbie. They also created the very popular and soon-to-return Monster High doll line. My wife's a big fan of Monster High. Had a lot of those releases. But, I mean, I guess the House of Mattel was built, at least in part, by He-Man and Masters of the Universe. There was, I believe, a pretty expansive toy line associated with She-Ra, Princess of Power, which was pretty much just, your girl version of He-Man, with a suitably expansive secondary and supporting cast that gave you a big toy line that you could manufacture and sell to the sisters of everybody that presumably was buying He-Man toys as well. But yeah, I mean, I had He-Man toys. I think I had a lot of He-Man toys, really. But I was a little bit too young for a lot of it to stick with me as far as like canon or particular affection for any specific characters, aside maybe from He-Man himself. I mean, I guess everybody knows He-Man, Orko, Skeletor. Those are big, famous things. This is the Wave 2. I do have some of the Wave 1. Evil Lyn, Teela, He-Man himself. I just saw them while we were looking for some stuff for my wife one day. And I don't know, I had heard good things. I think it's kind of neat that visually they're made and sculpted definitely to look a lot like the original releases, but they've just given them, as they say, modern posing. So there's a lot of joints, like ball joints, rotation that you didn't have on the originals. The original He-Man toys basically had like a rubber band waist, and they had little plug-in legs here that were pretty much on a ball joint. And then they had just kind of a simple swivel shoulder. And that was it. You had basically the 5 points of articulation: left leg, left arm, right arm, and then the head would swivel. These new ones, of course, they have the head swivel, they have shoulders, they have, I believe, a cut for rotation at the arms as well. They have a ball joint at the elbow. Usually they'll have a hand joint as well. You got ball joints at the hips. You got a waist cut and waist rotation, and then ball joints at the knees. I don't know if they have, I guess they have ankle articulation. They probably detail the amount of articulation that they have. Yeah, you can see the other members of the Wave. Like I said, I do have that He-Man. Decided to buy him. Surprisingly, I don't have a Skeletor. He's very common, though, so, I mean, maybe I'll pick him up in the future. Like I said, I mean, this was, I have to admit, driven primarily by nostalgia more than anything else. I don't know that I have a good display space, and honestly, considering that space is at a premium, it's kind of the basis of this stream. It makes me hesitant to pick up things that I don't feel strongly about displaying, but I think with these guys in particular, after the He-Man stuff, after picking up He-Man himself, I was surprised to have encountered this She-Ra just kind of, I say, in the wild when I happen to be out. You know, sometimes I'll pop into a Target at lunch and I'll see it. These are kind of hit or miss, I think, right now in terms of scarcity. They're released. I've seen them a couple times just out at stores, but I know that there are definitely people that have indicated that they have a pretty hard time finding them. I've heard people mention that. So I don't know. I mean, they might be kind of hard to find. They might be somewhat rare at the moment. I don't know. That doesn't really factor into my decision of buying or not buying. I showed my sister this She-Ra when I saw her at Target at first. And my sister, being a adamant She-Ra fan from back in the day, was not very impressed with this She-Ra. She, in particular, did not care for the face sculpt. I do think the face sculpt is a little modern. I think that it has a lot of like modern styling that maybe misses some of the charm of the original She-Ra release. Those all kind of had kind of similar faces to what's called like the Silkstone Barbie, in my opinion. Kind of more of a classic vintage pinup. And this just kind of looks like more modern styling with like the cat eye sort of mascara that they applied. I think just a lot of it isn't very classic. So my sister, unimpressed, she was like, eh. Because when I first saw this, honestly, I was thinking, well, maybe I'll pick it up and maybe my sister will want it. It turns out she did not. But at first I picked She-Ra up because I was like, well, maybe it'd still be neat. I do have that He-Man. And I picked up Roboto because I thought he just kind of looked very cool. I don't remember owning the original Roboto, but I thought this gear mechanism, the fact that he has kind of a transparent chest, I mean, all of that to me seemed pretty cool. I do think they're maybe a little bit more expensive than I would like. They're cheaper than a lot of other modern toys. They're priced at $15, but that still seems a little high to me. I would feel very comfortable with these being from 10 to 12. I know that's just a couple dollars difference, but you know, sometimes a couple dollars makes all the difference in the world. These are going to be popular though. I mean, like I said, I think they're somewhat rare-ish. And you still surprisingly have like a pretty big fan base. Maybe it's not fair to say surprisingly, but I mean, I don't know. Just speaking from personal experience. There's a very big fan base. In a lot of ways, Mattel has kept collecting He-Man an active thing over the years. There was a series before these came out that was called Masters of the Universe Classics. Those were pretty famous, sculpted and developed, I believe, by some former sculptors and people that had made McFarlane pretty popular back in the day. It was a group of sculptors called the Four Horsemen. I think they go by something else now. I don't really know. I used to read Toy Fair magazine, so I was a little bit more aware of some of that. Hello, additional people. I was just saying, I used to read Toy Fair magazine, and so I used to be... I know a lot of very useless information, Jackie. It is true. I've been exposed to useless information my entire life. Thank you, yes. But I used to read Toy Fair magazine, and they used to talk about the toy industry maybe a little bit more than people that weren't big toy fans would be interested in. But again, what I was talking about was these sculptors, toy designers. They were known as the Four Horsemen. I think they had risen to popularity working for McFarlane Toys, and then they kind of went independent for a while. I think they're independent again, but they worked for a while for Mattel, and they helped Mattel develop a couple things, a couple different lines. They developed the Masters of the Universe Classics line, which is relevant to this. And then they had also, I believe, helped them develop their Detective Comics line for a while. Yeah. I'll probably toss these on YouTube at some point. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm sure some masochist will find this interesting to some extent or another. But I did have a couple of the Masters of the Universe classics, but this is going to be controversial in the greater toy community, but I kind of don't like some of the way that the Four Horsemen in particular sculpt and design the joints in particular. They have real kind of like a steadfast tin soldier approach to a lot of joints. And so like a lot of those DC toys, I'm more of a Marvel guy. Yeah, whatever. But besides that, I will monetize everything, trust me. But besides that, a lot of the ways that the joints were designed, I just felt they kind of seemed a little stiff, especially in comparison to Marvel Legends at the time. But all that to say, Mattel has kept the Masters of the Universe line alive over the years. There was a not quite popular 2003 Masters of the Universe, which I actually had a lot of those lines, or I had a lot of that line of toys, and I believe I still do. I really like the sculpts on those. I really actually enjoyed that line quite a bit. I thought it was a pretty good toy line. At a time in my life where I really wasn't collecting quite as many toys. But it wasn't that successful. The cartoon wasn't successful, and so eventually the toy line tapered out. But they did get quite a few waves out of the 2003 Masters of the Universe. I think, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 at the least, maybe more. Yeah, I mean, I liked that resurgence. Like I said earlier in this stream, I don't really have a super great familiarity or memory of a lot of these characters from the original Masters of the Universe or He-Man line, but I thought these were kind of cool. I bought the He-Man, I bought the Teela, I bought the Evil Lyn, mostly because I thought the engineering on some of the female figures were pretty cool. And I mean, they have a lot going for them in a way. I mean, they have unique sculpts in different parts. Actually, you can see that surprisingly Merman and Zodac have maybe a few sculpt elements in common, which you may not think just based off of, their basic appearance. But you can see that there's, for example, like a lot of unique detailing on Roboto here. She-Ra has a lot of, I would say, unique detailing as well. That's just because these are all, to somebody, fairly iconic characters. But I did kind of get roped into this out of nostalgia and out of the fact that I had already bought the He-Man. So I bought these two for myself, and then I saw these two. I was starting to hear that the line was getting kind of difficult to find, and I was like, well, I see them. Maybe I should get them just in case I want them. Again, I don't think that I really have a good display space for them, but I do have some of the old play sets like in storage. I could probably go and get them and find somewhere to display them. If I wanted to display them, I think I could have them look kind of cool. But for right now, they've just been sitting around in my garage in their packaging. So we're gonna open some toys tonight. That's the whole thing. Yeah. My relationship with He-Man. What a sentence, right? My relationship with He-Man. Like I said, I don't really remember a lot of the cartoon. Yeah, I definitely had a lot. It's true. I know. I had a lot of everything. Um, Merman does have some nice colors. I agree. I actually think, like, in terms of color and design, like, a lot of these things are pretty well designed. I think that's one of the things that has allowed it to sort of carry on through the years in terms of having a fan base or some enthusiasm for it is just, there's strong design elements. In a big way, I think that a lot of popular culture is very much dependent on, do you have a memorable design? Uh, Star Wars, for example, I don't think, me personally, a lot of Star Wars, I don't think it's great. But I do think that Star Wars has a lot of very iconic imagery. Um, and they had some really good design choices, especially in those early films. And I think that a lot of enthusiasm for it just kind of gets carried over into the future, into future generations, just based off of the strength of the design. So a lot of these guys just have like really strong design choices as far as like bright, bold colors. I mean, you're talking about like, this has a very regal appearance with the strong gold detailing and the red cape. I mean, just, things that really kind of get into a very basic idea of, this is a princess of power. And it really kind of sells that idea very well, in my opinion. Um, Not everything was perfectly designed, but again, I think that some of these guys, somebody that was making some good choices was involved in the design process. And I think that a lot of the enthusiasm is just still carried over from generation to generation of these things by the strength of their designs. I do also think that, well, this isn't me thinking. I was talking about my personal relationship with the He-Man franchise, the Masters of the Universe franchise. These are easy to open, so I'm just going to pop them open. But it's another one of those things where I think that the thing that is most memorable to me is not necessarily a very well-regarded part of the overall franchise, in that I definitely feel like I remember the live-action movie, which I think is kind of universally regarded as not a very good movie. Starring Dolph Lundgren, and I believe Courtney Cox was in it. Frank Langella was Skeletor. I remember liking that movie a lot. I was a kid. I don't think that I really understood everything that was going on. But overall, I liked a lot of just what I was seeing on the screen. It was exciting, adventures. I mean, Dolph Lundgren. If you're going to have somebody be He-Man, I mean, you could do a lot worse. Dolph Lundgren, he was a big, handsome man. I think most people would say he still is. Courtney Cox was like the weird pseudo love interest in that movie. There was like a lot of alien dudes, a lot of crazy alien designs. Skeletor, I thought, looked pretty cool back in the day. Yeah, I kind of have more memories of the movie than I do of the cartoon. There was a cartoon movie that was about, it was like a Christmas special, strangely enough, but it was about She-Ra meeting He-Man. I kind of remember that as far as the cartoons a little bit more. There you go. Once again, she kind of a little more modern than I think people that maybe were looking for kind of the classic toy feel would want. Like I said, yeah, I think Courtney Cox was in the movie. I'm pretty sure she was. I want to say maybe it was her first acting role besides that Bruce Springsteen music video. But yeah, my sister did not care for this face sculpt. She thought it was too modern. I'm inclined to agree. It doesn't really look like classic She-Ra. There was kind of a look for girls' toys in the 80s that reflected what 80s fashion was like, to a certain extent. My mom can speak to it a little bit better than I. She was there in the 80s doing fashion and whatnot. But there was like a lot of eyeshadow. You'll notice no real eyeshadow on this. I'm pretty sure the original She-Ra either had eyeshadow or in illustrations would typically be depicted with eyeshadow. Um, so, I mean, is she a perfect She-Ra? If I'm going based off of my sister's assessment, definitely not. I think she's a nice little update. She does look more modern. It's kind of a weird thing with this toy line because it's like modern sensibilities applied to a very classic toy aesthetic. And so it's kind of difficult to know what the best choice would be from a design standpoint. Like, how faithful do you want things to remain? Should they have kept like the original face sculpt? It's funny to me that it seems like they updated the She-Ra face sculpt, considering the original He-Man, the new one looks pretty much identical. Yeah, I believe the original She-Ra also had rooted hair. This is sculpted hair. One of the gimmicks, because the original She-Ra line was a line aimed at girls. Well, any line aimed at girls in the 80s, you had brushable hair. So you had rooted hair. Since this, I guess, is kind of a nostalgia toy line that's probably aimed at adult collectors, and let's just assume that they think maybe more men than women. That's probably why they went with a sculpted hair. I mean, it's pretty well sculpted hair, but it is sculpted hair as opposed to being rooted. I'm about 90%. I'm about 90% sure that they had rooted hair in the original She-Ra toys. Yeah, fabric. It's sometimes a lot of toys, especially at this scale, you aren't going to see that. The original She-Ra toys had a lot of that. I think fabrics, and you have the reflective stickers that are on there. Those were big design elements in the original She-Ra toy line. So it's funny, again, they choose certain things to be faithful about. And then there's other things like the head sculpt, like the sculpted hair instead of rooted hair, that I guess maybe it's a cost thing. I don't know if maybe it just would have been more expensive if they went with the rooted hair, and so they decided not to. And if they were going to sculpt it, I guess they decided, I don't know some of the design choices. I mean, I like it. I think it's a nice little toy overall. These are a little bit shorter than your Marvel Legends. I believe they're pretty much in scale with the original line, which are maybe like, these might be 4-inch tall. They might be 5-inch. Let me see. I don't know who to compare this to. Spider-Gwen is a little bit taller than She-Ra here. I think, again, that's a scale thing. So these Masters of the Universe toys are probably about 5 inches. They're not meant to be like 1/6 or 1/12. They're 5-inch tall. But yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. I think it's, again, kind of a weird compromise in terms of being faithful to certain elements of the original release and then just taking modern liberties with some of the other things. I don't know who that's meant to please. Like, it kind of feels like you're going to be letting both sides of the coin down in a way. But, I mean, I still think she's a nice figure. Well articulated. Nice little accessories. The colors really pop. The additional fabric, I think, is also, like you pointed out, kind of just something that helps her pop and just have kind of a cool look. It's just, I don't think she's going to scratch that itch for people that are really clamoring for something that's a little bit more close to the original She-Ra. I don't think I ever had the original Roboto. I had a lot of Masters of the Universe, He-Man toys and whatnot. But I don't believe this was anybody that I owned. I definitely remember having like a Beast Man that had like rooted hair. He was great. I definitely had He-Man, of course. And like I mentioned, my sister actually had, I want to say, a huge collection of She-Ras. As a matter of fact, they might be in my garage right now because I did rescue some toys from our playhouse within the last 5 or so years. All of these come with the same little like comic thing. All of the original or the Wave 1 came with the same comic as well. This is Roboto. Like I said, I don't think I had Roboto. But I did, in terms of just seeing him out at the store, I thought he had a real cool look. I definitely had a toy that was kind of similar. I remember having a lot of the toys from the movie. Like I said, I think in a way I was probably a little bit more of a fan. Look at that. He's got like a little jibba jabba, I'm going to run my mouth mechanism tied into his waist. I just think that's cool. Like the transparency is cool. Oh, he's got calf cuts in addition to ball jointed knees. He comes with some, besides his very lovable jibba jabba mouth, he has another, I guess you would call it an action feature, which is he has a little interchangeable hand there. So you've got one normal hand here on the right. Yeah, I think I had Merman. Yeah. I'm just saying, I don't think I had Roboto. I don't think I had this Zodac guy that we're going to get to next. So you have a couple different hands to choose from. So you got your little axe. That was his default. You got some kind of little laser gun. And then you got like a little pincher. I might leave it as the axe. I think the axe maybe is the most exciting option overall. So that was kind of another thing about He-Man, is that it was sort of a weird mix of like barbarian style things, but it had a lot of like future trappings, like people rode around on like laser jets and stuff like that, but they also just dressed in loincloths. I guess, you know, just kind of stereotypical boy appeal kind of things. I mean, it worked, I guess. And again, this is still a series that maintains popularity through to this day. Approaching 40 years later, definitely around 30 years later. This guy's kind of cool. I think he looks cool. That's kind of a big thing going for him. I like the little play mechanism. That's kind of neat. I like the fact that you can see the gears. As you work the mechanism, you can see the gears rotate in him. That's neat. That's just kind of cool. Again, a very... I like the color scheme. It's just, you know, big, bold primary colors, accented with silver. A lot of little alternative hands. Like I said, these two I actually just bought because I thought they looked neat. Wanted to give them a shot. The other two, I kind of picked them up, and I feel somewhat guilty admitting it because I knew that they were getting quasi-rare. But I wasn't as excited about either of these guys, to tell you the truth, which I really shouldn't get toys that I'm not super, super excited about because, again, space is at a premium. I can't display everything. I do like these guys. And like I said, I mean, my reservations about some of the design choices about She-Ra aside, I like both of these. These are both pretty cool. Zodac, I don't know. I don't know anything about Zodac. Yeah, what's his deal? You tell me. I have no idea. He, I don't know. He just looks like a weird guy. He's got like an owl face. Maybe I'll read about him. Zodac's immense power comes with the price of maintaining the cosmic balance from anyone, good or evil. So he's like the most annoying person at any party where you're like talking about a point and somebody has an opposing point of view and he's like, well, there's merits to both of you. And it's just like, nobody likes this guy. Nobody likes this guy. He does look like a wrestler. They all look like wrestlers, honestly. I mean, that's the other thing. The other thing about Mattel is that they actually have the license for wrestling. So they make like the World Wrestling Entertainment. As a matter of fact, to the point where they actually make like little wrestler versions in the same style as these little like classic Masters of the Universe dudes. So keen eye, Jackie, you really cut to the core. You see that merchandising overlap potential, and they're doing it. So yeah, Zodac. I don't know Zodac. Was he in the cartoon? I don't know. Not sure. He, like I mentioned, he seems to use some of the same mold parts as Merman, but obviously he has a very different look than Merman does. I would say overall Merman is a more interesting looking character as a result. I think, with a toy line like Masters of the Universe, you have He-Man, and He-Man can kind of get away with looking kind of plain because he's the title character. He's the main character. I guess he's not the title character, but more or less he is. So he can kind of get away with being a little plain because you're going to be dealing with him all the time, but you kind of want him to be surrounded by weirdos. When you have other people and they just don't look that different than just like a regular human, it's just kind of, it's less exciting, I think. And so I feel like Zodac kind of suffers a little bit from that. He's just not terribly exciting. Even his accessory is a little bit boring. And the way they described his character, he just like keeps things in balance. He's like a well actually guy. I don't know. Kind of awful, right? It's not great. I'm sorry if any of my 4 viewers, I'm sorry if you're a big Zodac fan. If you are, get some better taste. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of a boring figure. I don't like his whole deal. I don't like his accessory. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. Even like this, like the helmet has kind of like detailing. It'd be kind of a little better if maybe some of these little details were like painted. I know that there's not that sort of paint detail on any of these other guys, but I don't know, they still manage to look more interesting. Yeah, these feet are, I don't know. He has the same feet as Merman, but it makes sense on Merman because Merman's a merman, as it implies. So I think there's a lot to be said. He kind of just feels like leftovers. It's like there was leftover He-Man parts, there was leftover Merman parts, and there wasn't any leftover idea for a character. So, yeah. The weakest so far, definitely. Merman, I guess, is a pretty, like, he's one of the more famous villains out of this lineup. Casserole hero, yeah. He's just leftovers. He's the goulash of the He-Man universe. He's the half-baked goulash of He-Man and Masters of the Universe. It's up to you kids to think of something more interesting to do with Zodac. I just can't imagine, why would anybody be interested in Zodac? They're not. Even if it was something like Zodiac, like make his name Zodiac, give him like a Zodiac theme, give him like a Zodiac shield. That would be something. This is just kind of nothing, you know? There's just nothing going on with this guy. I'm really dunking on him for no reason. But he's just not that compelling, I'm sorry. I don't even feel that strongly about disliking him. There is no I in Zodac. I will not shame Goulash. I'm sorry if I implied that Goulash is bad. I only remember Goulash from like elementary school cafeteria, and I guess it was fine. I don't really remember. Now here's Merman. Again, there's some sculpt pieces in common with Zodac here. If you look at the arms are the same arms. If you look at the boots or feet in Merman's case, they share a lot of the same mold, really. Even their little diapers are actually the same, and the base body isn't the same because I guess Zodac is a hairy man as well. Zodiac Killer would come to mind, but is that a bad thing? I don't know. I mean, kids won't know it. I don't think you're running any risks if you decided to call him Zodiac, personally. But yeah, Merman just kind of takes a lot of the same pieces and just does more interesting things. Again, I think from like a aesthetic perspective, the palette is a lot more engaging. I mean, you got that bright yellow offset with that cool green. It's kind of a bluish green. As a concept, he's a little bit more just like elementary. Like it's a fish man. You get that. Fish man's easy to understand. I think in the show, maybe it was the 2003 show. I don't know if it was in the original show. He would kind of talk like he was gargling. I'm not going to attempt to do a voice right now for this guy, but, you know, just imagine somebody gargling and talking at the same time. It's like a bit. They did it in cartoons. But like everything about that, it's a little bit more iconic. It's a little bit more just interesting. He's not like the most sophisticated of concepts, but I mean, he executes a simple idea well. For Merman, I don't remember. I mean, I think this face is probably pretty accurate. I can't say for sure. I don't have an original sitting here to compare with. I don't think I have my He-Man that's from this line. I don't think I have him within arm's reach. Otherwise, I would just put him here up with the rest of the lineup. But yeah, I like these guys. They're like little wrestlers. They're very iconic. Big, bold colors. Again, a lot of, I think, nostalgia. Well, it's a pretty good range on that ball joint on that head. I didn't really expect that. I thought these were maybe more just kind of side-to-side kind of things. So that's very modern as far as like the articulation. I don't think She-Ra has that same... she's got a little bit less articulation. Or range, I suppose, on that joint in comparison to Merman. I'm sure that hair hampers it quite a bit. Now, Roboto has a gimmick built in, so he probably doesn't have any real head articulation. No, it's all dedicated to the gimmick, which is fine. I mean, I don't need a robot to be exceptionally limber. I think it makes sense for his character. Zodac, I guess Zodac is supposed to have about the same range as Merman, but his head's just kind of big and bucket shaped, so it doesn't have the same impact. Yeah, out of these four, I gotta say, Zodac really let me down. I like these three quite a bit. Again, I don't really think that I have any display space that I can spare for them right this second. Maybe in the future, I might give them a little shelf. I don't see myself picking up too much more from this line. I might get a Skeletor, because it's Skeletor. But I think that I'm probably pretty much done with this line. I, generally speaking, don't tend to like Mattel toys as much. More of a Hasbro guy, more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy. Mattel had the DC license for a long, long time, probably around from the year 2000 or so, up until very recently. Within the last like year and a half to 2 years, the DC line or license went to McFarlane. McFarlane is like most known for Spawn. Todd McFarlane created Spawn, and then they started making toys for Spawn. The toys were a hit. I had a number of Todd McFarlane toys growing up. My uncle especially was a big fan. They made a lot of like monster, like classic monsters, but like reimagined. They had little like play sets. They would do stuff that was just kind of, they did a lot of like movie figures before Nika really got into like the horror movie thing. So McFarlane has DC now. All of that to say, yeah, Mattel, I wasn't as big of a fan of, haven't been, but one of the other figures that I have for us to open, now that we've opened up these guys, is also a Mattel toy, and it happens to be a DC property. So you guys did great. Thanks very much. I'll let you stand in the background. They stand very well. You'll notice that unlike with Nika, those Back to the Future toys, we had a little bit of, some of them stood okay, some of them didn't stand quite so well. Well, these, they're engineered pretty well. They stand quite well on their own. I have another toy that I bought a while ago that, again, I'm not a huge DC guy. I wasn't really a big Mattel guy either. But I have a couple like pet characters that I'm enthusiastic about. So every once in a while I would pick up toys of theirs. And they would just sit around usually because I wouldn't be super excited about opening them. This is from one of the last lines that Mattel produced of the DC license. This is Wonder Woman from their DC Multiverse line. Confusingly enough, when McFarlane took over the DC license, they also call their line Multiverse. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I wouldn't normally pick up a lot of Mattel toys because I tend to think they're not quite as good as some Hasbro releases. The joints in particular. They were starting to get better in like the last couple lines of DC Multiverse. They started getting away from some of the stiff sculpts. They started, I felt like, doing a little bit better with some of the joints, some of the face sculpts, the accessories. They were just better. And all of those improvements came pretty much around the time that they lost the DC license. So now there's two manufacturers that make Detective Comics toys. One is McFarlane, like I've mentioned now a couple times. The other is Spin Masters. I don't know a lot about Spin Masters. I think they do just kind of like playline toys. They do stuff that is ostensibly or arguably aimed at kids, but they're cheaper. They're less expensive. They're not necessarily like cheaply engineered or cheaply constructed, but they're made for kids to play with. I think a lot of adult collectors still enjoy that line because the other thing about those toys is that when they are less expensive to produce, they can usually make a more full lineup. So they'll make characters that maybe a collector line like this, you get a lot of iconic characters like Wonder Woman, but you might not get some of the supporting cast that you would want if you're a fan of the comics. Because these kind of toys take a lot more to engineer. They're more expensive to produce. So when you get into those playline ones, the stuff that's theoretically made for kids, you're going to have a potential where they might make characters that Mattel wouldn't have ever bothered to produce them because there wouldn't have been enough of a market. There wouldn't have been as much of a likelihood of them kind of making their money back. This packaging is very weird, but I've got it open now. I like Wonder Woman conceptually. I don't have a big personal history with Wonder Woman. I never watched the Linda Carter show. I thought both of the recent movies weren't great. I don't think, unfortunately, that Gal Gadot is very charismatic as the character, and I think the character could be very charismatic with the right actor behind the character. I like her more as an idea than any particular execution of that idea that I've seen. But she's another one of those characters similar to the way that I discussed He-Man, that the iconography, the design aspect of it is just very, very good. Like it's something that has obviously longevity and versatility. I mean, there's a lot of room to interpret her in a lot of different ways. This particular Wonder Woman I thought was a little bit of a nicer figure than a lot of other Wonder Woman toys that I had seen recently. It was enough that I decided to pick her up when I did see her. This was from a line that was kind of adjacent, similar to Marvel Legends. So this was also, I think, $20. Much like current Marvel Legends where they have Build-A-Figures, there's Build-A-Figure pieces that are included in this. I have no idea who this character is. I'm sure it says here. Oh, great. I can build a Lex Luthor. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to buy any of these other figures, but you could theoretically build Lex Luthor dressed as Superman, I guess. I don't know anything about that. I don't tend to read DC comics. I've had bad experiences with starting to try and read them. Like I'll be interested in a title, I'll read it for a little bit, and then they'll do an event. It'll disrupt the storyline of the title I was reading, and I don't know. That happened enough where I was just I felt burned. I think they do interesting little like one-off stories because a lot of their characters are kind of more interesting as ideas than specific characters. Like one of the big things for their comics is Elseworlds, where they'll have like a weird one-off take of, what if Batman became Batman in Rome in the year, 300 BC? I guess. Sure. The concepts are so kind of like broad that you can kind of just apply the idea however you want. But who is that as a person? Who is that as an individual character? I don't know. Doesn't really connect in the same way. I mean, there's a lot of versatility, and I think there's a lot of power to some of those ideas. Like I said, I mean, I like Wonder Woman kind of as the icon itself. It's a versatile idea of just kind of, I guess, a powerful woman with like vaguely Greek mythological origins in some way or another. She's an agent of peace, but she's also kind of warlike. There's a lot of interesting like contradictions within that character and a lot of different ways you can interpret it, but I don't know a lot about Wonder Woman except for what exists about Wonder Woman is kind of a general pop culture understanding. So my basis of buying this figure was mostly driven by that same sentiment. I like the costuming. I like the idea of her. As far as a figure, she's pretty nice. Again, like I said, this was towards the end of that line. This was towards the end of Mattel having the DC license. Their engineering or the design of the actual body of the characters seemed to have improved quite a bit. I think the face sculpt isn't like wonderful. That wasn't a pun. I could see how it may be interpreted as such. She kind of looks annoyed, right? She just, yeah. Not quite majestic, not as pretty as like your Linda Carter. It wasn't a pun, it was happenstance. She comes with a couple of different options for the lasso of truth. Neat. Comes with a sword. It's a little bit more of a modern trapping of the character than kind of your classic 70s interpretation. But overall, I mean, I thought like, the color, the sculpt, the engineering, it was all pretty good. Not a perfect head sculpt. I would kind of like the face to be a little bit different. I'm not sure what exactly I would do, but again, I think there's kind of just like a general dignified or pretty air that I think she could have that this doesn't quite hit the mark on. But overall, I think it's a nice figure. I don't have a ton of DC toys. The jawline's a little full. I feel like maybe that's to do with, I don't know, the articulation maybe. I like the detailing on the costume. There's actually even like a nice kind of leather effect on her little like skirt tails here. It has a metallic finish on the gold. Same for like her bracers. Like there's a lot of elements on this that I like. I think the face is one of the weaker parts of the figure overall. But I don't hate it. I mean, again, I think this is probably still one of the nicer Wonder Woman figures that I've seen. It's definitely, it's probably the nicest one that I own. I don't have like a ton of Wonder Woman, but a nice figure. I have no use for Lex Luthor's legs. If you'd like to give Lex Luthor's legs a nice home, hit me up. Send me a whisper. I actually don't know what whispers are, but I assume that that's what they're for here on Twitch. Trading legs. So I opened that. I've had that one for a while. That line, the DC Multiverse line by Mattel, hasn't been on shelves in some time. So I've had that one sitting around for at least a year, maybe a little bit longer. You can see that she's actually quite a bit taller than our Masters of the Universe friends. She's almost like a full head taller than She-Ra back there. We'll keep her hands and stuff with her. All of our comics. All of our legs. I have one additional toy that I was planning on opening tonight. And, I don't want to stick to a close hour, but I do feel like an hour is a good run time for these streams. For me, I don't have all night. I'm a busy guy. I'm important. This was a busy week for me too. I had an interview last week. I didn't get the position. That's okay. I don't mind. I got some feedback on that. Oh, this is the other thing I'm going to open tonight. Hey, it's Tails. Everybody loves Tails. Everybody loves Sonic. Sonic and Tails. It's great. I'll talk a little bit about this in a second. Let me talk about my week. So I got some feedback today as far as why I wasn't selected for the position. And it's kind of one of those things where as I go through my life, it tends to be a very common recurring theme where when people need to give me like feedback as to why I didn't get a thing, they have a hard time explaining, which is fine. I mean, that's okay. But it's difficult from the standpoint of I don't tend to get a lot of constructive criticism. I think I've always kind of felt to a certain extent, even in school, people just didn't know how to handle me in a way. That's okay. I would have a difficult time handling me if I had to interact with myself. I think that I have a lot of curious aspects to my personality and intelligence. So, no, I mean, they were very complimentary in terms of their feedback. They were like, you're doing everything right. This other person was a little bit more experienced than you, but I don't have things that you should be working on. You're doing everything correctly. And I'm like, all right, well, what can you say to that? I mean, it's kind of a compliment, but what am I going to do? Another interesting thing today, I got my first dose of the COVID vaccine. Uh, I got Pfizer. Um, I have somebody that I work with that got Moderna, and they said that the first shot was fine. The second one was really difficult, and they've been feeling a little bit rough from it. And then I have another person that I work with that got Pfizer, and they said the Pfizer was pretty smooth overall. So I guess I'm happy I managed to get the Pfizer. I also managed to get my wife signed up, so she's going to be getting the Pfizer as well. So, I mean, it's lots of cool progress as far as being vaccinated. My wife was sharing with me like weird stuff about like when you get vaccinated, it doesn't mean you can't get it. It just means you're probably not going to die. And I don't know. Whatever. I feel good. My shoulder's a little sore. I got it in the shoulder. I don't I don't feel like I'm feeling sick at all or anything like that so far. I hear the second shot in general tends to be worse when you're having to get one of the 2-shot or 2-dose kind of things. But yeah, you know, I'm happy I was able to get it. I'm happy I was able to get my wife signed up as well. This is my last... Oh, tornadoes, huh? Tornadoes can get in the way of vaccines. It's a common vaccine issue, tornadoes. This is Tails. Tails Miles Prower. He's great. He is awesome in terms of the character. So Jakks recently, and by Jakks I don't mean Jackie in our chat, but Jakks, the toy manufacturer, who's had the Nintendo license for a while, they recently acquired the Sonic license. And so this is the second wave, I believe, I'm pretty sure, of Sonic's toys that are made by Jakks. One of the nice things about them having the Nintendo and the Sonic license is that now they're sort of in scale with one another. I've gotten a couple of these. I like Sonic, generally speaking. He's a cool little blue dude. I never had a Genesis. My cousin had a Genesis growing up, but I played some Sonic games. When emulators became a thing, don't tell the government, but I played a lot of Sonic on emulators. And I like the character. I think he's charming. There was a lot of like Sonic fan comics on the early internet, and so I don't think that's where I got familiar with it. I read the Archie comics. I like the cartoon. I think my enthusiasm for Sonic and his supporting cast has just kind of carried through most of my life. This is a nice Tails. I thought he looked really good. I think that Jakks kind of in general has done a pretty good job with the Nintendo and the Sonic license. Some of these characters are kind of hard to translate into 3D in a way that allows for like good interaction with them. And I'll give you an example. This is a toy that I opened prior to starting this channel. But he's from this same line, the Sonic the Hedgehog line by Jakks. This is classic Sonic. He's a real cute figure. Yeah. We don't talk about Sonic made of Chaos Emeralds. So he's a cute figure. He looks nice, very on model. But his legs are so stubby and his head is so big that he really doesn't stand terribly well on his own. You see, he just wants to he wants to take a nap because his poor little leg joints just can't handle quite how huge that noggin is. But he's very cute. He's a cute little guy. I still like him. What a cool dude. I'm going to put him up real quick. So this line is kind of split up between modern and classic. I don't think I'm going to buy a ton of these. I like Sonic, I like Tails. I like a lot of these dudes, but I don't feel the need to buy a ton of these guys. I like them. I like Tails a lot, and I think this is a nice Tails toy, so I decided to pick him up. The cuteness factor is a big motivator for a lot of these Sonic toys. And I think really with a lot of like the Jakks stuff, their Mario line is pretty fleshed out at this point. I mean, they've had a number of waves. They've gotten to a lot of characters that I wouldn't have expected. We've got a lot of nice iconic options for a lot of popular video game characters. I'm not much of a contemporary gamer. That's why I'm on Twitch. But I have some fondness and nostalgia for old video game characters that are still out there in the video game world. I don't think they've made a Daisy yet. Strangely enough, at this point, honestly, because they could just retool their Peach very slightly, and all they would need to do is like sculpt a new head, honestly. No diss to Daisy. I love Daisy, don't get me wrong. But I'd be more interested to see them do like maybe some of the like tennis outfits, like get one of the different costumes. I think that would be a more exciting or interesting approach to start doing some of the other like Rosalina and Daisy and things like that. Like get into some of the sports games, do some of that. There will be a market for it. The people demand Daisy. This Tails is very cute. I don't know for sure. I think maybe one of the last Tails that wasn't just like a bendy figure was maybe the really old Resource Tails, which I might have actually had. Those guys were even more of just like a giant head and a body that had to stay very, very firm just to support it. But this guy's cute. I would say that he balances and does his stuff a little bit better than the classic Sonic. I think that's by virtue of the fact that he has the modern character proportions. But he still captures a lot of the charm of just the character himself. I'm curious as to if Jakks will do any like movie merchandise. Will they do movie toys for this? When Sonic 2 comes out. I think they got the license after the original Sonic movie. He's a cool dude. He definitely... Yeah. There's a lot of little cute parts on this Tails. Hey, I'm Tails. I'm excited. Etc. Something about technology. Piloting things. Yeah. He's cute. He has a hand that looks like he should have like a walkie-talkie or like a wrench or something. They could have thrown in an accessory of that nature for him. I think it would have been a good inclusion. Comes with this little like bump pad, which actually has a little like popping feature. I guess these are kind of from the... it's from the game in general, but I think of it associated with like the casino zone and stuff like that. They're just like little bouncy bumpers. Cool stuff. Actually, Jakks is making a lot of really nice stuff. If you're a Sonic fan, they're making a lot of things that are pretty cool right now for Sonic fans. They have like play sets. They have little like things that have like a little shooting Super Monkey Ball style Sonic that's spinning. A lot of cool stuff. I like them a lot. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to buy a ton. I have a few of the Marios, and I like the ones that I have. I think I have Waluigi and Wario, and it is kind of nice, like I said, to have the same manufacturer working on Sonic and Mario because they're characters that go well together, as evidenced by like the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games franchise. So it's nice to have them in scale with one another and made with the same general like engineering and sculpt quality. Like they go well. It's nice. It's good that they're making these. I know that there are people that still kind of prefer the previous manufacturer. I don't remember the name of the previous Sonic toy manufacturer. Somebody out there knows it. And they're screaming right now on the video on demand on YouTube after I've uploaded this. Wow. My cat's making sounds. I don't know if you can hear it. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. I don't know. But I like this. This is nice. This is a cute toy. Overall, I mean, I have to say, I think most of the stuff that I opened tonight, I'm pretty happy with. I think, with the exception of Zodac, don't like that guy. Just wasn't cool. Pretty lame overall. Get yourself together, Zodac. You're on notice. This is a warning. But yeah, I mean, I showed at the beginning of the stream, I do have a couple things that I want to get to in terms of the next couple streams. I'm excited to crack into some of the Marvel Legends that I got to recently. Zodac doesn't need a break. Zodac needs to earn some respect. But I'm eager to get into some Marvel Legends. I'm eager to get into some Transformers. I have actually a lot of like collector's line Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that I'm excited to get to. So there's some stuff that I'm looking forward to getting to. Again, it's not that I wasn't excited to open these guys, but I think that there are some things coming up that I'm maybe a little bit more excited just about the prospect of finally opening, getting to talk about some of my relationship with the various like franchises or properties that are associated with them. I have a little bit more of a history or connection with them. Or some of them are just like toys that I really like too. So there's at least a few more weeks of pretty exciting things I think that we'll be able to get to. I would also be interested in doing like a little bit more of some long form builds. I got a very cool Lego set in from a theme that I've never gotten it before. There's some other cool Legos that I plan on getting. Let me show you this big thing that I got. I'm not going to open it tonight. Maybe I'll do a long build stream on it. Maybe on the weekend. I could see doing like a really long stream that's just a build of this and just kind of chatting while I build it. We'll see. I don't know how long it would take. I've never gotten any of this theme before, but I got this guy. This is a crazy set. It looks real cool. It's huge. This is almost 2,000 pieces. This is from the Monkey Kid line. This is a Lego store exclusive line. This is a line that is inspired obviously by Journey to the West, a famous Chinese folklore tale. This is from the Monkey Kid line, which is in general meant to kind of pair with the fact that Lego's getting into the Southeast Asia market and kind of trying to appeal to that demographic. But I just saw it. I thought it looked pretty cool. I like builds that are locations more than vehicles. So this one was kind of just like a nice like landscape. I've never really seen a Lego set that's just like a nice landscape in this way. So potentially, I mean, maybe I'll do a nice long build on this. I don't know. I don't know how that would go. I don't know what the interest would be. But this is a very nice looking set. I'm excited to get to it. The bouquet, yeah, some of those floral sets, they're popular. They've been kind of hard to come by. I never had any plans of getting those, to be honest. But the Lego website's pretty good about giving you like little in-stock notices. So I have a couple other things that I had gotten from the Lego store. I'm hesitant to even show them because my mom thinks I get too many Legos. It's not true. I certainly don't I certainly do not incessantly and constantly acquire new Lego sets as some sort of madman or anything. Um, I mean, I mentioned it's a Lego store exclusive, but a lot of these, as opposed to going to the mall and going to the Lego store, a lot of them I've just ordered from lego.com. They have a really nice, like, frequent buyer program that rewards you. I know all about it. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, a few different kinds of toys that are going to be coming up that I'm excited to open. I'm excited to do maybe some Lego builds, but overall, very happy with the toys I opened tonight. Looking forward to some of the stuff I'm going to. Yeah, they do sell the store exclusives online, so yeah, there's some good stuff on there. I highly encourage you check it out. Does Nexus GG, does it let me link to non-game stores, or can I just earn money from selling games? If I can start doing referrals out to other toy sellers and start earning that sweet royalty cash, I'll do it. Believe you me. Other than that, these are this is everything that I intended to open. I did have a I'll think about it. I'll talk about all the games that I don't play. This is everything that I had intended on opening. I do have a couple, like bonus things that I'm not going to open tonight because I think I've covered enough. And I do feel like an hour and change is a good run length for these regular installments. And we're coming up close to an hour and a half. I do appreciate all of my friends for dropping in and watching me open toys and talk about opening toys. But yeah, mission accomplished. Second official stream done. This is the third stream on the channel. I'll see about figuring out how to back this up onto YouTube so people can be bored by it there. But thank you. Love all of you too. I'll talk to you soon. And that's it. Bye.